Donning PPE and wearing PPE is of vital importance to seeing a patient and their safety. When donning PPE, one should put on the gown first, mask, and then gloves. Now, I'm ready to see the patient for therapy.
1 hour later.
Now that my therapy session is over, doffing the PPE is just as important as donning the PPE. First, I will take off the gloves, making sure to not touch my hands on the parts on the outside. Next, I'll take the mask off. And finally, I'll untie my gown and take it off, making sure to only touch the inside sections of it. And then crumbling it up with the outside part. Contact precautions can be split up into two different subcategories, direct and indirect. Direct being the person-to-person transfer of pathogens. So if I were to shake my client Beck's hand, I'm infected. And indirect, if I were to, let's say, take Beck's pen, I'm now infected. For contact precautions, you will need a gown, gloves, to cover up the patient's affected areas when leaving the room, and a private room. The next precautionary measure for clients to look out for is drop-up precautions. Drop-up precautions can go from person to person via bodily fluids. One should wear a gown, mask, gloves for both parties, and a private room for a client. Transmission can happen from talking, sneezing, or coughing. For example, if I were talking to my client at a close range, "Hey buddy," I would be infected. The last precaution to be wary of is airborne precautions. Airborne precautions are defined as when small particles are suspended in the air for long amounts of time. So for example, if my client had COVID and I was in the same room as him or her earlier today, the particles may be still in the air, and without a mask or proper PPE such as private room, negative airflow, the patient also wearing a mask, N95 preferably, I would be susceptible for COVID. Similarly, with airborne precautions and contact precautions, one would need mask, gown, gloves. Same thing with the private room with negative airflow, and the patient will also need to wear PPE. One way to prevent the transmission of pathogens is to wiping down surfaces after done with therapy session with something the client came into contact with via indirect transmission. So after my therapy session today and my client leaves, I would then wipe down the area that he used.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
Making sure to get all the areas that he came into contact with.